our class activity 2 for today. So at the top of your packet, you are going to see class activity 1-2. It's lesson 1, unit 1, lesson 2, class activity, and this is our second one. So we are going to be making math drawings. We already started looking at photos of equal groups. Now we are going to be drawing our own equal groups after reading story problems. So starting here with number 4, follow along as I read aloud, please. Sandra bought 4 bags of lemons. There were 6 lemons in each bag. How many lemons did she buy in all? I would like us to make sure that we are all understanding the problem by reading it multiple times. So go ahead and get your reading fingers ready on your page. We are going to read number 4 together now, okay? Sandra bought 4 bags of lemons. There were 6 lemons in each bag. How many lemons did she buy in all? What are we talking about? We want to make sure that we understand this problem and we understand what is being talked about. If you said lemons, you are so right. But what I want you to do is reread the problem for a third time in your head. And I want you to look for the words how many. And you're going to underline how many. And the next word will be circled as our label. So go ahead and read it one more time in your head to make sure you really understand what's happening in this problem. And underline the words how many and circle our label on your page. Okay, now that you have that underlined and circled on yours, we can understand that we are talking about lemons, and I notice there are 2 numbers. There are 4 bags of lemons, and there are 6 lemons in each bag. Which one of those numbers would be the number of groups that we have? What we're grouping our lemons into? The bags, right? So there are 4 bags. That means we are going to draw 4 groups. This is how we draw our equal groups math drawings. We just make them circles every time to keep it simple. So I'm going to draw 4 nice circles here for group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. Pause the video if you need some more time to draw those on yours. Next, we need to represent the group size, or how many are in each group. Now that word in each, or that phrase in each, is going to pop up a lot in these multiplication and equal group problems. And it's almost always the group size, or how many goes inside of our groups. So in this particular problem, Sandra bought 4 bags of lemons. We have that shown here. This is how we are representing our problem. There were 6 lemons in each bag. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to, one moment, I'm going to make this a little bit thicker because I want to just make dots now to represent my lemons. And I'm just going to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can do this on your math board. You can do this on your paper. But I want you just to put 6 little dots in each group to represent how many we have in each group. And as always, if you need more time or you need to re-listen to anything, just pause your video and do your work. And if you need to go back and rewind and re-listen, you absolutely can. It's kind of the beauty of the online learning bit, huh? Once you have this drawing, I have represented this problem by showing that there are 4 bags and there's 6 lemons in each bag. When I look at this, I think of it as 4 groups of 6. Now let me show you how we can represent this in an equation form here on the line, okay? I write it just like this. 4 groups of 6, because there's 6 in each group. So I'm going to circle that just like we did with our 5's multiplications on day 1. And then because they want an equation, I need that equal sign and my answer with a label. I don't know my 6 count bys yet. So There are 3 ways we can solve. Ready? Way number 1. We can count all of these dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And you can do that until you've counted all of them up for your total. Very effective, but it's also pretty time consuming. So we're going to learn a little bit faster ways to solve these problems. Way number 2. We can do those repeated additions. I know that this would be the same thing as 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. And if I pair those up, I've got 12 and 12 and 12 and 12 gives me my total of 24. Now, I did tell you there are 3 ways. Way number 3. We soon will become multiplication masters. And so as you are working on your Math Genius skills, you are going to actually just start memorizing these facts. And I can count by my 6's, 6, 12, 18, 24, or just have it memorized. 4 times 6 is 24. We're not there yet. We are just starting with multiplication, but I promise you that by the end of our unit, you're going to be getting there, and it will be so much more fun and so much faster for finding these answers. For now, go ahead and get this work shown for problem number 4. My representation shows 4 groups of 6, which is equal to 24. And then don't forget that lemon label that we marked up top. So we will write lemons. I'm writing with my mouse, so it's a little trickier, but I know that you're using your best handwriting on yours. If you need more time, pause your video until you are ready to join me for the next problem. Okay, as I was working through that problem, you probably noticed that I started drawing something up here in the right corner, this URSC. And you might remember this from previous years, right? We've gone through this as our problem-solving model. So the U is always going to be our very first step when we're problem solving, because before we can find the answer to a problem or understand what it means, we need to be able to understand. The U is for understand. I do this by reading my problem at least 2 times and almost always 3 to make sure that I know what they're talking about and what is happening in the problem. Okay? I usually ask myself 2 questions. What do I know, or what information do they give me? And what do I need to find, or what is their question? Okay? Those are my tricks for you on that. Do you remember what the R stands for? We did it here with this math drawing, and we also wrote an equation. It stands for represent. The R is represent. And we've already done this, but exactly what we did. We are going to always show a math drawing when we are working with story problems. That way we can represent and really see or visualize what is happening in this problem to make sure that we are doing our work accurately and correctly. Okay? Representation happens in math drawing form or picture form, and it can also happen in equation form as we get better, just this 4 times 6. Our next step, if we have a problem, we need to solve it. The S is for solve. To solve our problems, I showed you 3 different ways. Do you remember? We counted all of our dots. We worked on our repeated additions here underneath. We talked about count bys or just plain old having our facts memorized, and all of those will come in handy. All of those are going to be good for our problem-solving model. This very last one, I know that you probably know the C from previous grades, but in 3rd grade, because you are becoming such smart math geniuses, we actually add a little bit to it. Do you remember the C as being check? Yeah, we always want to check our work and make sure that it's accurate and that we think it's right. But we are going to add some fancy language to this in 3rd grade. And instead of just saying check, we say check for reasonableness. Say that for me. Check for reasonableness. And when we're checking for reasonableness, all it means is that we're looking back and we're saying, hey, does that make sense? Does it seem like a reasonable or smart answer that could be possible? For example, If my answer on this one was 5, that makes sense. If I had 4 groups of 6, could my answer possibly be 5? No, that wouldn't work, right? Because I can't shrink the amount that I have if I'm multiplying. When I multiply, I'm always getting a bigger number. When I look at my answer here, I can look at this and see my representation on the side and say, you know what? I think that looks like about 24 dots. That seems like a reasonable answer. And that's kind of how I check. And I also make sure that I've included my label to know that we're talking about lemons because Mrs. Scholes is really picky on this. We have a picture, equation, answer, and label. Those four things are what all mathematicians have. If we don't have a label, Mrs. Scholes doesn't know if you're talking about lemons or stinky feet or salads or M&Ms, and it's kind of important because I want to know which ones to pay attention to, right? Now that we have this ready, we are going to move on to our next problem. We're going to go ahead and skip 5 and move to numero 6, or number 6. If you need a little break, press pause and press play when you're ready to join me, but I'm going to hop on to number 6. Listen as I read the first time. The Fuzzy Friends pet store has 3 rabbit cages. There are 5 rabbits in each cage. How many rabbits does the store have in all? We're going to read it together. Go ahead and read along with me. The Fuzzy Friends pet store has 3 rabbit cages. There are 5 rabbits in each cage. How many rabbits does the store have in all? Look for those key parts to our problem as you read it to yourself this time. You might want to underline the numbers or those magic words in each, or our label indicators. How many? Label. Read it one more time in your head. And as you're doing so, mark those key phrases for yourself, and I'll do the same on my side. Okay, 3rd grade. Check and see if you marked the same things as I did on my problem. I marked my numbers. I underlined that in each along with my numbers so that I kind of could tell one of those numbers is going to be my group size. And then I underlined how many and circled that label. How many almost always points me to my label. Now we're ready to represent. We're talking about rabbits, right? And those rabbits are in cages. How many cages do we have? You're absolutely right. 3. That will be my group size. So go ahead and draw your 3 groups. 1, 2, and 3. Then you look for your magic words telling you the group size or how many are in each group. How many are there? Absolutely right, there are 5. Now I want to show you another way we can represent this. Last time we drew dots. It is a very smart way to go. However, I know that you also have your 5s count bys pretty much memorized. So if you feel like you are very strong with your 5s count bys, you can just write the number 5 inside of these groups instead of drawing dots. If you don't have your 5s memorized yet, go ahead and continue with drawing 5 dots in each side. But we know that 5 dots and the number 5 represent the same thing. So this is one way that you can make your sketches kind of work for your brain. Once you have those 5s in your groups, I notice that we have 1, 2, 3 groups of 5. Go ahead and write that as 3 groups of 5, or 3 times 5. I'm going to get a little fancy and make my multiplication symbol be just a dot this time. Oh, Oh man, not really. I got a little out of control here with my mouse. There we go. There's my dot. 3 times 5 is equal to, and again, you can think 5 plus 5 plus 5, or you can count by 5s, 5, 10, 15. And our answer is 15 rabbits. Oh my goodness, third grade, I hope your handwriting is so much better than mine. It is hard to write on my computer. If you need more time, pause and press play when you're ready. Otherwise, I would like you to move to number 7, or numero siete. This particular problem, I would like you to complete on your own. Don't forget that your first step is to read it. How many times? Probably 3 times, right? Read it multiple times so that you know what the problem is about. And this helps you to understand what the problem is about. What's your second step going to be? Yes, your second step is going to be to represent. You are going to make sure that you show your math drawing on the side with your equal groups. And your third step is going to be to solve, which means you're going to have an equation. I'm going to write this word a little bit short. This is my shortcut for equation, EQTN. You're going to have an equation and an answer and a label, and you are going to very lastly check for reasonableness. Now what I want you to do is I want you to pause your screen when you are ready to get started, and you're going to do these 4 steps and find your final answer. And then when you're done with the whole thing, I want you to go ahead and press play, and I will tell you the actual answer to see if you were correct. Press pause and get your work done, and press play when you are ready to check. Okay, third graders, if the Paws Plus Pet Store has 5 rabbit cages and 3 rabbits in every cage, they want to know how many rabbits the store has. That is like saying we have 5 groups of 3, or 5 times 3. It is a total of 15 rabbits, and I know that you guys have your drawing and your label here, but because my mouse is so tricky with this, I'm going to trust that you wrote your label here on the line right next to your product. One thing that I want you to notice, though, is look at the similarities between problem 6 and problem 7. What do you notice? There's a lot of similarities, right? The product was the same, and my factors are actually the same. They're just mixed matched. They were just flipped around. Do you suppose that I will always get the same answer if I flip my factors around? What do you think? I want you to keep that in your brain because we are going to talk about that during our next video. But you are done with this page, so pat yourself on the back. You are a math genius, and I can't wait to see what you do next time.